Hey everyone, before we get started learning more about Brown University, we wanted to let you know that you can calculate your chances of admission at Brown and other schools with your free CollegeVine account. Start by completing your chancing profile with information such as your GPA, test scores, and extracurricular activities. From there, you can use CollegeVine's Hub tool to see your chances and information about the school, such as cost, majors, and more. Visit the link in the description below to sign up and see your chances today.
The next major part, of course, is the open curriculum. I mentioned this before, and I want to give you a bit more background on it now. The only requirement is that you take at least 2 classes with essays. So Brown is a big name school, and they want students who can basically write a good op-ed and not make people question did this person ever learn to write in college, because it says they went to Brown University down at the bottom of the page. They want to make sure that you're trained in elite writing style techniques and stuff like that and are able to express yourself. But again, that's 2 classes with essays. You can do it. And you still need a degree though. So I mentioned pre-med before, and it having a lot of requirements. Every degree basically sets its own course requirements. So again, to be a doctor or to be a pre-med, you're going to have a bunch of doctor-related stuff on your transcript before they give you that degree. For me in the history department, we needed a well-rounded view of the world. So, and also just different experience with different, what we call historiographical traditions, which is kind of the behind the hood of writing and gathering information and stuff, different techniques that people use for different time periods and places. And so for us, that was at least 2 courses from 3 different continents. So it could be 2 courses in North America, 2 courses in East Asia, and 2 courses in Africa. As well, 2 of those also had to be pre-modern, so you get some experience on archaeological stuff and how that factors more into pre-modern fields. And then you would have to concentrate in something even within history, where you had to have 4 classes. So on one of the continents you had to have 4 classes instead of 2, and that would be your concentration. You could make up your own with the help of professors and stuff, but that's basically how it worked. And so that's a lot of stuff that you have to do just within a degree, but it's pretty similar to what you'll get at every other school, and you don't have to worry at the same time about core curriculum and stuff. I avoided math courses, to be honest. And yeah, so you just have to get a degree, and you have to have some writing experience. However, you can design your own independent concentration. So it's even more flexible than that. So a friend of mine, for example, did a user experience related independent concentration. It had a lot of words in it that I don't quite remember all of them. But it was basically how people interact with computers and stuff. And it wasn't something that was offered by Brown or a department, but he created it with the help of an academic advisor who signed off on it. And now he works at Google designing the things that you tap on your phone. So that can work out really well. You can even create your own classes through the open curriculum. A GISP, or Group Independent Study Project, counts as 1 credit. And this is basically you and your friends get together and you say that you want to study something. And really you just have to get a professor to sign off on it and basically sponsor it for you, and then you kind of all like do this group research thing together, which is pretty fun. I did a GISP on keyboard design and what makes a good keyboard, like uh, QWERTY versus other layouts, just for fun. And yeah, there's just a friend of mine did the lives of women in the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc countries versus the West, and how feminism factored into each of those. So this was more serious than mine, but basically, yeah, you just another layer for you. You can create GIFs and you can create independent concentrations. One other note about the credits, I mentioned that GISP count as one credit. The open curriculum treats every course as a credit. At other colleges, you'll hear about like course hours, and to be honest, I still don't understand what those are because I've never really interacted with them. But from my understanding of it, just reading about it, it's like you get so many hours for being in a class, as well as if you're like in engineering and you have to do like a lot of lab stuff, those also go into the course hours that you both need to graduate and also that you pay for. Whereas at Brown, every single class that you take is just a credit. You need at least 28 credits to graduate. And like different things like GIFs and stuff also just count as a credit. The other academic opportunities I'll talk about later, like vocational stuff, count as a credit. And you could also do like a research project. If you just want to work with a professor on a research topic and like write a really long academic paper, you can do that for a credit. So much more streamlined thing that I prefer. But if you're like an engineering student, it might hurt you because you're getting, you're kind of undercounting a little. But generally something that I find just much easier to work with. The last major part of the open curriculum is that failure is not recorded. Meaning, let's say that you fail a class, and like normally that would get sent to jobs, grad schools, and you just have a big failure kind of on your transcript forever. At Brown, if you fail, no one has to know. So if you fail a class, it's like, as far as your transcript goes, it's like you never even took it up. You can also drop a class and it will disappear. You can do this up to the point of final exam, at which point you're probably just better off like not doing the exam or something if you're in that situation. But yeah, a big part just in terms of experimentation and alleviating stress is that you have room to fail and it not counting against you. Brown does have its own like internal transcript where stuff is recorded, but that's not sent out to other institutions or anything. And you can take any course SNC or satisfactory no credit. We like to say SNC a lot is like a kind of doing the bare minimum type of thing, but it's not something that we actually do in SNC courses. I actually like really cared about mine. And this is really for like experimentation. So the biggest thing, if the open curriculum was really important to Brown's culture of cooperation, class size is a really important part of the classroom experience that you'll get at Brown. Not only does Brown have relatively small class sizes, but ensures that students in every class obtain the benefits of like a seminar. If the class has more than 40 students, it will be broken up into what we call sections at least once a week. So let's say that you're a student in computer science, and the courses I took in the computer science courses I took were like really big. Like the building that we use to house like all of the incoming families during family weekend, as well as like their children and stuff. That like massive building was used also also in the week for computer science seminar or computer science lectures. So like this massive like theater with like 2 stories of seats and stuff, fitting hundreds of people. That is what like the computer science lecture is like, and the professor is this really tiny person up on a faraway podium with like a giant PowerPoint behind them, which is very similar to like a lot of like college environments. So that's pretty like normal actually, especially in STEM fields. But at Brown, what the sections do is at least once a week, you'll actually get to like talk to people, talk to TAs or possibly even a professor in your section. And you'll basically just get some of the benefits that you would from a seminar, like discussion, possibility to cooperate and on material and work together on that. And you'll also like just have the opportunity to like ask questions and like get to know your professor, which you might not at other places. And yeah, so the sections part is a huge aspect of the classroom experience. So not only do you have a high faculty to student ratio, about 7 students per every faculty member, but you're also just always going to get some part of the experience of like being in a small class and getting to know some instructor, which is really big. As for the professors themselves, Brown is a very undergraduate focused school. So let's think about Harvard for a second. Harvard has like a giant law school and a giant medical school that are for graduate students. And a lot of wealth and prestige comes from these schools, possibly like even eclipsing the undergraduate school itself, the college. And the attention of administration and faculty like just have to reflect that. Like they're going the administration is like also going to be worried about like these really fancy schools where a lot of people pay tons of money, or like the business school. And there's like some loss for the like undergraduate side of things. Brown, however, is a lot more similar to Dartmouth. You may know that Dartmouth is really picky about its name. They correct you if you call it Dartmouth University and only want to be called Dartmouth College because they are a college and they serve undergraduates. And they do have some grad programs, but unfortunately for those grad students, Dartmouth does not identify with it. And Brown is more similar to that. So its undergraduate programs are really more the focus of the university. Brown, for example, doesn't even have a law school. And this reflects, or this has an effect on the interactions you'll have with like deans and professors. So for example, Jamel Bowie, who writes for the New York Times, once quipped that like the media likes to talk more about undergraduate, or thinks more about undergraduate students than most professors do, which is probably kind of true because professors, like, they have research that they have to do, they have to go to conferences, they have peers and colleagues whose attention they need to get, and they have to deal with all this administrative bureaucracy and like grad students, and then like teaching may be something that they enjoy but just like can't dedicate as much time to. But at Brown, the combination of a high faculty to student ratio, paired with like the sections and just the school being more undergraduate focused in its administrative approach, means that you will most likely get more attention from professors just as a student. There are some exceptions, of course, like it varies by department. The history department is very seminar based, but again, the major STEM fields rely more on lectures, and the computer science department, for example, mostly interacts with undergrads through TAs. You might not ever get to talk to your professor there, but in general, with the other fields that you're in and stuff, you will get like just the opportunity to know your professors more, which is really valuable. The culture of cooperation I mentioned also applies to professors. So keep in mind that they're never out to get you. They don't want to like scare you or anything. Nothing like what you see in movies, like say Legally Blonde. Rather, they're very eager to help you. They care about your success. They care about you as a student, and they're also just like pretty laid back. So if you need something, you can usually just like ask them. Say if you are sick and you need an extension, you can write like a really long email saying why you need this extension, and they'll probably just reply like, "Yeah, sure," sent from their iPhone. And just a more visceral example of that is a friend of mine got a concussion while at Brown, and one to health services, so the deans were notified, and then all of his professors were notified. And after like waking up from a medical drug-induced sleep, he saw like a ton of emails from all of his professors saying like, "How are you? Are you okay? Hope you're doing well. Don't worry about that paper. You can do it at the end of the semester," which he, of course, really appreciated. So yeah, it's like the professors' professional culture amongst themselves is just geared towards being nice and accommodating, and they just really enjoy teaching. They're all interesting people who enjoy talking to students and answering questions. And as a kind of side bonus, they're all top names in their fields, like mini celebrities. So when I was doing my thesis, for example, I needed an advisor. And I talked to a professor I was close with outside of the field, and they just started like recommending all these like big names, like people whose names were on the books that I was reading who were at Brown. And you get to like choose from those names when you like choose like a project like that, which is like a really cool experience. And honestly, one of the biggest benefits of going to an elite school like Brown.